Okay, hi guys. So this is going to be your review for test 10 over coordinate geometry. So I'm going to go through each one of these and explain how I'm getting the answers, and the answers will match what you have there in the back. So on number 1, find the midpoint from P to Q. Okay, from P to Q, and I just want whatever the point is that's in between here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little formula right here. First of all, my midpoint is M, and this is going to be x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2. Your midpoint is an actual point. I'm just looking for the point that's between these two other points. Okay, so essentially I'm just getting the average of those x's and the average of the y's. So here, first of all, first thing you need to do is label both your points. This is the first one, so x1, y1. This is the second one, so x2, y2. So let's add up my x's, negative 4 plus 8, and then I'm going to say divided by 2. And I'm going to do the same thing with the y's. So I'm going to have 6 plus negative 6 over 2. And when I do this, negative 4 plus 8 is going to be 4. 6 plus negative 6 is 0. 4 over 2 is 2. And 0 over 2 is going to be 0. My midpoint here is 2, 0. Okay? And 2, 0 is this point that's right here. Okay, so there's my midpoint right there. And you can see visually that's the point that's in between those other 2 points. Okay? On number 2. So each unit on the map represents 5 miles. So what is the actual distance from ocean front, which is right down here, to seaside, which is way up here on the left? Okay, so they said actual distance. So this is the way you got to look at this problem. You're going to find the distance. I'm going to find the distance using the distance formula. Distance formula is this one right here. D equals the square root of x2 minus x1 quantity squared plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared. You're just taking the difference in the x's squared plus the difference in the y's squared. Okay, now we're going to do this and find the actual distance. And when we do that, remember, just like when we were doing the midpoint, you got to label your points. So there's the first one, so x1, y1, and then here's the second one, so x2, y2. So let's plug this in. So if I do that, I'm just saying negative 2 minus 3, and then quantity squared plus 4 minus negative 2. Minus negative is going to change to a plus, so that's going to be 4 plus 2, so that's why that's going to be 6. I did it over here to the right because I was running out of room. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. And then 4 plus 2 is 6. Negative 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 25 plus 36 is 61, which is going to be 7.81 and change, right? If you said, okay, there's my distance, and you looked at your choices here, and you do the first one, about 10 miles, that's going to be incorrect. Okay, you have to be able to get this, and now you're going to have to multiply this by 5. So you're going to multiply this by 5. When I do that, I'm going to get 39.05. So basically your answer is going to be D, which is going to be about 40 miles. Okay, on number 3, what is the sum of the angle measures of a 35-gon? What that means is that's a 35-sided polygon. So it really doesn't matter what this is. I need to use this formula, n minus 2 times 180. Okay, this is just going to give me the inside of all the angles that are inside this polygon. I'm just adding them all up. Okay, it doesn't matter how big the polygon is. This will do it. All I got to do is use this formula. Since I know that there's 35 sides here, I'm just going to plug in 35 for n. 35 minus 2 is 33. So I'm just going to multiply 33 by 180, and that's going to give me 5940. And that's 5,940. All right, let's look at number 4. A road sign is in the shape of a regular pentagon. Remember, regular just means that all the sides are the same and all the angles are the same as well. Okay, so a pentagon has 5 sides. So here I'm going to say n equals 5. Now the question is, what is the measure of each angle? So basically, I just want one of the angles. So I'm going to go back to that formula, the n minus 2 times 180. But if you just want one of those, not the sum of all of them, you just want one of them, you have to divide by the n. So the formula here is the n minus 2 times 180. and you're dividing by n. That's what I should have put here. You're dividing by n. But since I know that my n is 5, in fact, let me kind of do this off to the side. Or let me just do this over. They're going to say n, because that's your formula. You're saying divided by n. Anyway, but n is 5, so I'm just going to plug the 5 in here. So 5 minus 2 is 3 times 180, and then I'm dividing that by 5. And when I do that, that's all gonna, the 3 times 180 is gonna be 540 divided by 5. That's gonna give me 108. Okay, on number 5, find the missing values of the variables. The diagram is not drawn to scale. So first of all, you have two unknowns here. You have the x and the y. Now, if you remember from one of the videos we had watched, this is going to end up equaling 180. That x and the y together, I know, will be 180. However, having said that, I need to actually solve here for how much this is going to end up being. So first of all, I can say right here, this is on a flat angle right here. So 106 plus y has to be 180. So if I say 106 plus y equals 180, and now I subtract 106 on both sides, I'm going to get y equals 74. Well, now that I have y, and now the only thing I don't know is x. So if I add all of these inside here, this is a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral, all the angles inside a quadrilateral add to 360. If you did not know that, then, you know, if we go back to remember the n minus 2 times 180, I know that my n would be 4 because 4 sides. And then you just say, okay, 4 minus 2 is 2 times 180, you get 360. You don't have to do this, but that's just the explanation. If you didn't already know that any quadrilateral, if you add up all the angles, they add to 360. Anyway, with that being said, if I add up all of these angles here, I'm going to say y plus x plus the 119 plus the 74 is going to equal to 360. And now I'm just solving an algebra problem. So I know now that the y is 74. 74 plus 193 is going to be 267. 360 minus the 267 is going to be 93, and this would be degrees. Okay, I did not put that, but that's degrees. All right, so yeah, number 6. So how many sides does a regular polygon have if each exterior angle measures 30? Now remember, the exterior angles for any polygon is always going to be 360. Okay, those are all the angles on the outside. Okay, well, so that's going to be 360 for all these. If I just want one of them, just like on number 4, where I just wanted one of them, you have to divide by n, your number of sides. So here, all I know is that my sum of just one of them is 30. So I'm just going to say 360 divided by n is going to equal 30. So now I just need to solve for n. So how am I going to do that if n is here on the bottom? Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this 30 over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply. 30 times n is 30n. 1 times 360 is 360. Divide both sides here by 30. You're just going to end up with n equals 12. In other words, there are 12 sides to this polygon. Number 7, find the values of the variables in the parallelogram. Okay, so first of all, I have x, I have y, and I have z. Okay, well, so when I'm looking at this here, what I'm going to say is that it would the way I have a couple of ways that I can start this, but the way I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for one of these. And so I'm going to look at this triangle up here. Remember, inside of a triangle, all those angles have to add up to 180. So I'm going to say 31 plus 96 plus y. Right here I just said y plus 31 plus 96 is equal to 180. And I can add the 31 and 96 is 127. 180 minus 127 is going to be 53. So I know here that the y is 53. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to say, all right, well, these over here, remember here on the side, when these are on the same side and they're right next to each other like so, and basically I'm merging the x and the y together because this would make like one big angle here. This has to be 180, so 96 plus the sum of this. So I'm going to say 96 plus the y and the x together is going to be 180. Well, now I know that this y is 53. So I'm just saying 96 plus 53 plus x is equal to 180. 96 and 53 is 149. 180 minus 149 is going to be 31 degrees. Okay, 31 to 31 degrees, same deal. Okay, number 8. Okay, but for the parallelogram, if the measure of angle 2 is equal to 4x minus 20, so in other words, right there, this is 4x minus 20 in here, and the measure of angle 4, which is up here, is 3x minus 11, find the measure of angle 1. So this is what I want right here. Okay, so first of all, these, remember, they're side by side. These add to 180. So I'm just going to say the measure of angle 2, which is 4x minus 20 right here, plus the measure of angle 1 is 180. I'm also going to say I could have done the same thing over here and just said, remember, up there, lost my train of thought. Remember, right, if these are right across from each other on a parallelogram, these are equal. So the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 1. So I'm going to say angle 3, which is, hold on. I'll take that back. What I'm going to say is, I still don't know what angle 1 is, but I know that these two, remember, these are side by side on the same side. These add to 180, so the measure of angle 4, I should actually put that up here. The measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 1 is going to equal to 180, be equal to 180. But anyway, I know that the angle 4 is 3x minus 11, and so I'm saying 3x minus 11 plus angle 1 is going to be 180. So, basically, since these are both equal to 180, I'm just going to set all of this here equal to all of this over here. I'm just going to say 4x minus 20 plus angle 1 equals 3x minus 11 plus angle 1. So when I set this equal to each other, if I subtract angle 1 on both sides, they both cancel. So I just have the 4x minus 20 equals the 3x minus 11. Yeah, and there's a simpler way that I just realized that I could have done it. But anyway, so if I do that, then I'm just solving this. Subtract 3x on both sides, that just gives me x. And if I add 20 to both sides, so get rid of that 20 there. Negative 11 plus 20 is 9. So x is 9. So there's my x. Okay, what I wanted to do is find angle 1. Well, now that I know that... remember, my angle 1 is way over here, so just pick one of these. So here, let's say that I have this right here. Remember, these side by side, these have to equal to 180. So I'm just going to say 4x minus 20 plus angle 1 equals 180. So now that I know that x is 9, I'm just going to plug 9 in there. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 minus 20 is 16. If I subtract 16 on both sides, 180 minus 16 is going to be 164. What I was going to say was that I realized I was looking at this. Remember, in a parallelogram, the angles that are opposite each other are equal. Well, I already knew here that, right here, that this is 4x minus 20, right? And now that this is 3x minus 11, I just could have cut through the middleman right here and just said 4x minus 20 equals 3x minus 11. Instead, I went like a whole big old long way, but anyway, I could have just said that this one equals this one, and they would have accomplished the same thing. I would have still gotten the 9, plugged that in, and I would have still been able to solve for angle 1. Okay? Okay, number 9. In parallelogram DEFG, DH is equal to x plus 2. So this is going to be this top part of this diagonal right here. That's x plus 2. And HF, which is this bottom part of that one, is just going to be 2y. GH, which is this left part of this other diagonal, is 4x minus 3. And HE, this other half of that diagonal, is just going to be 5y plus 1. Okay? Remember, each of these are equal. Okay? So x plus 2 equals 2y. So I'm going to write that down. So x plus 2 equals 2y, and then I'm going to have the 4x minus 3 equals the 5y plus 1. I don't know why I wrote this one for whatever, whichever way you do that, right? Okay, now the thing is I have two variables here, so my plan is that I'm going to substitute one of the expressions for the other one, plug it into the other one, solve for one of the variables, then go back and solve for the other one. Okay, so let's see what I mean. So right here, I'm going to start with this one. This looks simplest. So x plus 2 equals 2y. So here, I'm going to solve this for x. So if I subtract 2 on both sides, this is just going to give me 2y minus 2. So 2y minus 2, I'm going to plug in on the other equation for the x. So instead of this x, I'm using 2y minus 2. And if I plug this in, multiply by 4, I'm going to get 8y minus 8 minus 3 equals 5y plus 1. Okay, my only unknown here is y, so I can solve for it now. So negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. Now this is just a simple algebra equation. If I subtract 5y on both sides, I'm going to get 3y. And then if I add 11 to both sides, 1 plus 11 is 12 divided by 3. I'm going to get y equals 4. Well, now I can come back over here and solve for x, because remember I have x in terms of y. If I plug the 4 in now, so I'm going to say 2 times 4 is 8 minus 2, and that's going to be x equals 6. Okay. Number 10. What is the most precise name for quadrilateral ABCD with vertices negative 5, 2, B, negative 3, 5, C, 4, 5, and D, 2, 2. Okay. So I went through the whole thing of saying, all right, let's find or first of all, you can kind of do like the visual here. I just did a little graph, which you don't necessarily have to, but you could do that. Okay. You can find the slope between each one of these. Between A and B, this gives me a slope of 3 over 2. Between C and D, I get a slope of 3 over 2. From B to C, I get a slope of 0, which means it's just going to be straight across. From A to D, I also get 0, which means it's straight across. Now, the way that you tell the difference between a rhombus and a parallelogram, you would have to examine the diagonals here, and you would have to have 90-degree angles. Now, I can pretty much tell that if I actually did the diagonals here, I would not have 90-degree angles. Okay. And besides visually looking at that, that pretty much looks like a parallelogram to me. So I'm just going to go with parallelogram there, which is your answer. So you can see there that looks like a parallelogram, so I'm going to call it a parallelogram. Okay. Number 11. In a rhombus, the measure of angle 1, which is this one right over here, is 15x. The measure of angle 2 is x plus y. And the measure of angle 3 is 30z. So just think about this. That means that here for angle 1, this is in terms of x. Measure of angle 2, you have x and y. Measure of angle 3, you have z that's in there. Okay. So all I want you to do is find all these variables. Now remember, in a rhombus, you have 4 right angles here. Okay, which means each one of these is 90. So really, that's all I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to say, okay, so for 1, I'm going to say that the measure of angle 1 is equal to 90, and the measure of angle 1 is 15x. So 15x equals 90. Divide both sides by 15, you get x equals 6. For angle 2, angle 2 is let me solve for y. That's actually the easier part. I meant for z. So I'm going to say remember the angle 3 is going to be 30z. 30z equals 90. Oh, right here. It's going to be 90. So it's going to be z equals 3. And for y, remember, not so much for y, but the measure of angle 2 is x plus y. So I have x plus y is going to be... Anyway, now that I have x, in fact, I could have just done this. Let me get my thoughts together. Since I already have x here, I could have just gone straight to the fact that angle 2 has to be equal to 90, right? So I could have just said x plus y equals 90. I just realized I did not do that, but I could have done that. I could have just said x plus y. Let me do that over here to the side. X plus y equals 90. Well, now I know that x is 6. So I could have just said 6 plus y equals 90. If you subtract 6 on both sides, 90 minus 6 is just going to be 84. Okay? And that's actually the simpler way to do, because you see over here, I went to some big old long way, which even though this still works, you did not necessarily have to do that. Okay, number 12. DEF is a rectangle. Now DF D. So they're talking about the diagonals here. Remember, when you're talking about a rectangle here, these diagonals are equal. So DF equals GE, or EG is what they're giving you here. So in other words, these two diagonals are equal to each other. So I'm just going to set these equal to each other. So I'm just going to say 5x minus 3 equals x plus 5, and I'm going to solve for x. So if I subtract x on both sides, 5x minus x is 4x. If I add 3 to both sides, 5 plus 3 is 8. And then I just want the x, so divide both sides by 4. We're going to have x equals 2. And that's all they want. Yeah, so that's all I wanted, so I could have just done that right there. I was actually done right there. I don't know why I went through the whole trouble of actually finding out how much each one of these were. I could have done that had they asked. Once I get the 2, I could have just plugged 2 in there. 5 times 2 is 10, minus 3 is 7. If I plug in that 2 in here, 2 plus 5 is 7. I could have done that. Of course, these are equal because you already knew they were equal. But they didn't ask that. All they asked for, what is x? Okay, so I was actually done way over here. Okay, number 13. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment whose endpoints are h and k. Okay, so 13. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment whose endpoints are h and k. This h is 6, 4, and k is 2, 8. So remember, the first thing you have to do is label your points. My first one, so x1, y1, is my second one, x2, y2. So remember your midpoint formula, you're just adding the x's together, dividing by 2. You're adding the y's together, dividing by 2. So 6 plus 2 divided by 2. And I'm going to have 4 plus 8 divided by 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. Divided by 2 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. So my midpoint there is just going to be 4, 6. Okay, number 14. Find the values of a and b. Okay. So I can approach this in a couple of ways. So first of all, if these are side by side like this on the same side, these have to add to 180. So I'm just going to say a plus 65 is going to be 180. And I'm going to say 109 plus b is also going to be 180. So I'm going to do these separately, solve for a and b. So if I say a plus 65 equals 180, subtract 65 on both sides, I'm just going to get a equals 115 degrees. If I say 109 plus b equals 180, subtract 109 on both sides, I'm just going to get b equals 71 degrees. That's that. Number 15, you want the mid segment here. What is the mid segment? Remember, when you have a trapezoid, you have two bases, and you have two sides that are not parallel. All you got to do is add the bases together and multiply by a half. So I'm going to say 1/2 times the 72 plus the 104. So 72 plus 104 is 176. Half of that is 88. Okay. And number 16, the measure of angle 1, which is up here, and the measure of angle 3 is back that up. They want you to find the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 3. So this is how we're going to do it. Remember, this is side by side here. You're going to have these two triangles that are triangles that are the same, and these other two triangles that are the same as well. So looking at this, if this top angle right here is 17, that means that angle 1 is 17. So I know that angle 1 is 17. So since this is 17, and this has to be a 90-degree angle right here, I'm saying 17 plus 90 equals angle 3. So I can solve for angle 3 then. Remember, I'm just saying 17. This looks like 117. This is just 17. Plus the measure of angle 3 equals 90. Subtract 17 on both sides. I'm going to get angle 3 is 73 degrees. And that was that. Angle 3, angle 1. And then the last one, number 17. The measure of angle R is 120. And of course, that's degrees. The measure of angle 2 is 110. They want us to find the measure of angle T. So when I'm looking at this here, these two are equal. Okay, so this is 110. That means that angle U is also 110. So remember, in a quadrilateral, this has to add to 360, so I can just do some algebra here. I'm going to say 110 plus 120 plus 110 plus the measure of angle t is going to be 360. If I add all these up, I'm going to get 340. 360 minus 340 is going to give me t equals 20. All right, guys, I want y'all to be studying this, and remember, you're going to turn this in tomorrow. This is an assignment. Make sure you have everything in here. If you just include answers, that will not be sufficient. All right, guys, talk to y'all later.